I stood in the dimly lit corner of the lavish party, the glass of whiskey in my hand growing warm as the room buzzed with laughter and music. It was one of those events my wife, Laura, loved, an elegant affair filled with our city's socialites. She thrived in such settings, her radiant smile and effortless charm always drawing attention. Tonight, however, there was a shadow in her glow, a tension I couldn't ignore. She had been unusually secretive lately. Late-night work meetings, a new password on her phone, and whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room. I'd brushed it off as paranoia until tonight, when I decided to see for myself. I followed her discreetly around the room, pretending to mingle, my curiosity gnawing at me like a persistent itch. It didn't take long to find the answer. A tall man in a tailored suit, someone I vaguely recognized from previous events, stood too close to her. Their body language spoke volumes. His hand lingering on her lower back, her laughter too vibrant, her gaze lingering on his face just a second too long. I felt the heat rise in my chest, anger mixing with a bitter wave of betrayal. As the night wore on, I noticed how they slipped away together, heading toward the balcony. I followed, careful to stay in the shadows. What I saw confirmed everything. Their whispered words, her hand on his arm, and finally, a kiss that left no doubt in my mind. I could have confronted her then and there, but a cold clarity washed over me. This wasn't the place. I needed to play this smart. Revenge, I realized, would taste far sweeter if I planned it right. Over the next few weeks, I gathered evidence, photos, texts, and even a recording of one of their secret rendezvous. It wasn't hard. They had grown complacent in their deceit. I didn't let on that I knew, playing the role of the oblivious husband while carefully setting the stage. When the moment came, it was spectacular. Another party, another gathering of our social circle. This time, I was a host. Everyone was there, including her lover. I had spent weeks preparing, ensuring every detail was perfect. Midway through the evening, I tapped a spoon against my glass, silencing the crowd. Laura stood beside me, her smile as dazzling as ever, unaware of the storm about to break. "Thank you all for coming tonight," I began, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. I wanted to take a moment to celebrate something very special. I gestured toward the large projector screen that descended from the ceiling. The room darkened and a slideshow began. At first, it was innocent enough. Photos of our vacations, family gatherings, and milestones. But then, the images shifted. Pictures of Laura with her lover appeared, followed by screenshots of their texts and audio clips of their conversations. Gasps filled the room as the truth unfolded. Laura's face turned ghostly pale, her hands trembling as she stared at the screen. The man she had been seeing tried to slip away, but I was prepared for that too. A few strategically placed friends ensured he stayed right where he was. To new beginnings, I concluded, raising my glass. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. I filed for divorce the next morning, armed with evidence that left no room for negotiation. Laura's carefully curated reputation crumbled overnight, and her lover vanished into the shadows, leaving her to face the fallout alone. Revenge, as they say, is a dish best served cold, and I savored every moment of IT I and the days that followed. Laura tried to salvage what was left of her shattered life. She called me repeatedly, begging for a meeting, insisting that we could talk things through. Her pleas were met with silence. I didn't need her excuses. I had seen everything I needed to see. Each message she left, each tearful voicemail, was another reminder of the betrayal she had orchestrated behind my back. But my revenge wasn't over yet. The affair hadn't just broken our trust. It had humiliated me in front of the people who mattered most in our social and professional circles. I wasn't going to let her walk away unscathed. With the evidence I had collected, I made sure the fallout extended to her lover as well. He was a married man, with a reputation as a devoted family man in the business world. A carefully anonymous package found its way to his wife. USB drive containing all the damning proof. From what I heard through the grapevine, their marriage disintegrated within days. His wife left him, taking the kids and a sizable chunk of his fortune. As for Laura, her social standing took a nosedive. The party had been the talk of the town, and everyone had an opinion. Friends who once fawned over her now whispered behind her back, the scandal too juicy to resist. Invitations dried up, her once busy calendar now glaringly empty. Even her job wasn't spared. The company she worked for valued discretion and integrity, qualities her actions had blatantly defied. I, on the other hand, thrived. With the weight of her deceit lifted, I threw myself into my work, my fitness, and my life. I reconnected with old friends and even found myself on a few dates. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. One evening, a few months later, I found myself back at another party, this time hosted by a close friend. The atmosphere was lively, and I felt a genuine smile tug at my lips as I sipped my drink. Across the room, I spotted Laura. She looked different, hollow, like the life had been drained from her. She avoided my gaze, but I could feel her watching me throughout the evening. As I turned to leave, she approached me, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can we talk?" she asked, her eyes pleading. I regarded her for a long moment, the memories of her betrayal flickering in my mind. Then, with a calmness that surprised even me, I replied, "There's nothing left to say, Laura. I've moved on. You should too." Her face crumpled, and for a brief second, I felt a pang of pity. But it quickly passed. She had made her choices, and I had made mine. Without another word, I walked away, the echoes of her regret fading into the background. Revenge had been sweet, but closure was sweeter. I was finally free. Months turned into a year, and life steadily improved for me. My business expanded, my social circle flourished, and I even started dating someone new, Sophia. She was everything Laura wasn't. Kind, genuine, and grounded. Being with her felt like rediscovering joy after years of living under a storm cloud. Laura, on the other hand, was a ghost of her former self. The occasional rumors about her life painted a bleak picture. She'd been forced to sell our old house after the divorce settlement drained her savings. Her lover, stripped of his family and status, had moved to another city, leaving her utterly alone. It was ironic, really. She'd traded stability and love for a fleeting affair and lost everything in the process. One day, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address, just my name scrawled in familiar handwriting. Inside was a letter from Laura. It was long, filled with apologies, regret, and a desperate plea for forgiveness. She wrote about how she had hit rock bottom, how she ruined not only our marriage but her entire life. She asked for a chance to meet, to explain herself, and to make amends. I sat with the letter for a while, memories of our past flickering in my mind. Despite everything, I couldn't deny that part of me once loved her deeply. But that part of my life was over. Sophia had shown me what real partnership looked like, and I wasn't about to let the past drag me back into darkness. I wrote a brief reply. Asterisk Laura, I've read your letter and appreciate your apology. However, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, nor does it mean reopening old wounds. I've moved on and found happiness. I hope you can find peace and do the same. Take care, asterisk. James. I didn't expect a response, and none came. I folded the chapter of Laura and everything associated with her, locking it away for good. A few months later, Sophia and I attended another party, this time as an official couple. The night felt full of possibilities, with laughter, music, and a sense of belonging that reminded me of how far I'd come. Laura wasn't there, of course. If she was even invited, she wouldn't have dared to show her face. It struck me how much could change in a year, how betrayal, heartbreak, and revenge had given way to growth, clarity, and love. As Sophia slipped her hand into mine, I realized something profound. Revenge had once driven me, consumed my thoughts, and fueled my actions. But now, My greatest victory was my happiness, and the fact that Laura would never be part of it again. Years passed, and Laura became a distant memory, a cautionary tale of what betrayal can cost. My life with Sophia was everything I had hoped for, a fresh start with someone who truly cared for me. We built a life together, free from lies and deceit, filled with trust and mutual respect. One day, as I was walking through the city on a crisp autumn afternoon, I saw her. Laura was sitting on a park bench, staring blankly at a newspaper in her lap. She looked older, worn out by time and whatever struggles she'd faced since we parted ways. For a moment, I considered walking over, but I stopped myself. What would I say? What would be the point? Instead, I observed her from a distance. She seemed lost, a shadow of the vibrant woman she once was. It wasn't satisfaction or pity I felt. It was something harder to define. Perhaps it was a realization that life had punished her far more effectively than I ever could. As I turned to leave, she glanced up and our eyes met. Her face registered surprise, then something I couldn't quite place. Was it regret? Sadness? She didn't look away, nor did she try to approach me. It was as though we had both silently acknowledged what had happened, what had been lost, and what would never be again. I nodded politely, then continued walking. She didn't call after me, didn't try to stop me. Maybe she understood, as I did, that the chapter had been closed long ago. That evening, I told Sophia about the encounter. She listened attentively, her warm hand resting on mine as I recounted the brief moment in the park. "Do you feel anything for her anymore?" she asked gently, her eyes searching mine. I shook my head without hesitation. "No," I replied. I feel grateful in a strange way. If she hadn't done what she did, I might never have found you." Sophia smiled, and in that moment, I realized just how far I had come. Revenge had once consumed me, but it wasn't what defined my life. Healing, growth, and the love I now shared with Sophia were the real victories. Laura became a distant figure in my story, an important one, yes, but no longer the central character. My life was mine again, and I had everything I needed to move forward. As I held Sophia close that night, I felt an unshakable peace settle over me. The past was behind me, and the future was bright. Some endings, I realize, are exactly what we need to begin anew.